All right, from a college dropout to costing casinos a fortune, statistician Bob Stoll seems to have the right formula to make bettors money and lots of it. Strategic statistician uses a math model and technical analysis, and he likens that to that often used predicting the stock market. But how would you use that with football games? He reformulates his best pick of the week, which he then gives to subscribers of his website. How is he fared? Check out these numbers since 2000. It's impossible almost. Remember, you have to win almost 53% of the time in order to make a profit. He's gotten so good at what he does, he actually moves point spreads in some of Vegas's biggest casinos. How does this work? Let's ask him in San Francisco, Dr. Bob Stoll of drbobsports.com, and in studio, CNBC sports reporter Darren Ravel. Dr. Bob, let me ask you this. I look at how you do this. You know so much about each team in terms of injuries and how they've been doing it in statistics. Is there really any technical analysis, or is that really just sort of add some sizzle to what you do?
No, actually, there's it's half of what I do is technical. Back when I was at Berkeley, I was taking a time series analysis class, which is sort of regression with sines and cosines, and discovered that there were patterns in performance of football teams, and that's kind of where it all started. But half of what I do is technical. Dr.
Bob, have you ever noticed how so many times in the past it's like when everybody's on one side, and even though the team seems like it's going to get crushed, if the sentiment gets too positive, it almost seems like the gods come in and make the underdog win? Do you ever take sentiment into account?
Well, that's actually part of the technical analysis. You'll find that when a team is looking as bad as they can possibly look in recent weeks, that's probably the time to bet on them, actually. The harder a game is to bet, the better bet it is usually.
That makes sense.
Darren. Bob, Darren Ravel here. My question, Mark Cuban a couple years ago comes out and says that he was thinking about starting a sports gambling hedge fund, and that would actually get him better returns than a usual hedge fund. What do you think about that?
It's true. You can hit modest percentages in sports betting and with a pretty conservative money management scheme and make a lot more over a 4-month season than you could in any market.
Can we talk about, can you show us how you do it in a real-life example and make a prediction?
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about one of the games this weekend if you'd like.
Would you mind? Go ahead.
Yeah, not at all. This is not one of my best bets, but it's a game I considered to be a best bet. The Seattle-Chicago game. And this one's not necessarily technical in nature, although I do favor the home team in this case. And in this round of the playoffs, generally the home teams do cover with the extra week off. But I think the Bears are being not overlooked because they're 8.5-point favorites, but I think a lot of people are doubting Chicago because Rex Grossman's been a little inconsistent. The defense has not played well the last 4 weeks, but also they haven't had their starting secondary intact the last 4 weeks either, and now both cornerbacks are going to be playing for the first time together since Week 13. So I think the Bears' defense that you saw in the first half of the season is going to be the same in the playoffs as they were then. So I think that the Bears' defense is going to dominate Seattle's offense, which was 4th worst in the league as far as my ratings are concerned.
Bob, I looked at your notes, and it's supposed to be horrendous weather in Chicago this weekend. Didn't notice weather at all. And how much does that factor in, and how much do you have to tell your people about weather, especially if you're going to make a prediction on over-unders and stuff like that?
Well, I don't do too many over-unders, and my feeling on weather is if you're basing your bet on the weather, then you might as well be flipping a coin. There's no data that I have on weather, whether it's snowy or rainy or windy. I don't really have a lot of data. The one data I do look at is in windy games, there tends to be lower scoring. So it's not so much the cold or the snow. It's if it's windy, it affects the passing game, and usually the running teams have an advantage in games like that. But the total should be a couple points lower than you might predict when it's bad weather. But as far as the side is concerned, I don't think it has that much of an effect unless it's really windy.
All right, so your pick is the home team?
Yeah, I'm going to take
After all is said,
minus
you have
the Bears.
Do you have a cell phone? You have a private...
Yeah.
You give that to...
We'll talk to your producer after the show, Joe.
Thanks, Bob. You know what I mean? All right. Thank you, Bob Stoll. Appreciate your time today.
Well, it turns out my father is right. Wall Street is just like Vegas.
Yeah.
Next up, you can find out where Joe is headed next week. This is Squawk Box on CNBC, America's business channel.
Squawk Box, presented by Cargill. We collaborate, create, and succeed with our customers.